Chris back here with my final video on Xiaomi's Mi 8, their first notch flagship. And when I first unboxed this, I was a little let down by a couple of things that it was missing. I was disappointed to see that Xiaomi did not go with wireless charging. They dropped that from their Mi Mix 2S. They also dropped the secondary loudspeaker, and they didn't go a step further, adding IP splash resistance. It doesn't have an IP rating, and I just feel they could have gone a little further with some things. But it turns out that maybe I was a little bit too harsh on this phone here. So obviously we've got a notch here that's not going to be to everyone's liking, but you can hide it with the UI. But apart from that, we have a fantastic AMOLED panel here. It's a Samsung panel. The resolution is 2248 by 1080. It is 6.21 inches. And one of the best screens that Xiaomi has gone with. So this one tops out at 710 lux, so it's very bright. Now I did criticize a little bit that when you look at it at certain angles, the same with the Mi 8 SE, their smaller version, that you will see a bit of what looks like to me either a gap between the digitizer glass and then the AMOLED panel below, or perhaps even an anti-glare layer or something there. That's just a very minor complaint, and really that is me nitpicking. Apart from that, the screen is just really good, and as mentioned, one of the best. The colors, as you can see now, they look really good colors. It's a vibrant screen, but you can adjust, of course, how you want it to be. With the settings, you can go through there with the contrast, dynamic contrast. Standard looks the best, more correct. White balance can also be adjusted. Now they do have an IR assistant light there, so this will be used in conjunction with the face unlocking feature with the front camera, which is 20 megapixels. So when you unlock the phone and you're in low light conditions, you can actually sometimes see, well, mostly on camera, you will see a little tiny, like a purple light, and then it's flashing, illuminating your face. And that means that unlocking the phone in low light will just be faster than other typical phones there. Now the build of it is very good. We've got a metal unibody that goes around the outside, well, a metal frame, but then we do have glass on the rear, which is apparently Gorilla Glass. It could be Gorilla Glass 5. Curved edges, very comfortable. A rear fingerprint reader which unlocks in under half a second. Your typical fingerprint readers there on flagship, so very fast. It doesn't seem to ever let me down. Now the camera modules, you can see we've got a dual camera arrangement here. So the secondary auxiliary sensor is used for your depth effect photos. The main sensor is 12 megapixels, a Sony IMX363 with an f1.8 aperture, 1.4 micrometer size pixels, and 4-axis optical image stabilization. Up the top here, you can see two antenna lines, secondary mic. Down the bottom, we have a microphone loudspeaker. You can see the antenna lines there, so Type-C port. Now, the charging times on this are very quick. It takes 1 hour and 37 minutes to fully charge this phone. That was from 7%, and it is really good. So it's very fast. It's using Qualcomm's Quick Charge 3, the charger that is included. And battery times, I will mention them now at the start of the video. So you get anywhere between about 7 to 6 hours, up to possibly about 8 hours of continual on-screen time. It is a definite 2-day mobile phone. I found the battery life on average to be about 7 hours with my typical kind of use. So it is very decent for a flagship in the spec of this phone. So the chipset is the Qualcomm Snapdragon 845. That's their top-of-the-line chip at the time of this video. We've got 6 to 8 gigabytes of RAM. 64 gigabytes of storage is my model, and you can see here that the storage speed, it's UFS 2.1, so it is very quick, no bottlenecks here. It's super fast, and right up to 256 gigabytes of storage. Now it's non-expandable, so we don't have micro SD card support on this, and all we have is just dual nano SIMs. And the tray, you can see there, it does actually have a little gasket around it, so there is possibly a little bit of splash resistance with this phone, some people say, but there is no IP rating, which I feel they could have added here. Now the UI, it is MIUI 9.6 that it ships with, as mentioned before, but it's running Android 8.1 with the latest security patch being from March. Now a big, huge update came through with this phone that was 2 gigabytes, and it fixed some of my complaints from my unboxing video. So I ran into these micro stutters and problems in full screen gesture mode that should not be happening with this particular chipset because it is very fast, of course. So they cured it, which is great. Okay, so we've got some really hyped up GPS claiming to be super accurate. It's using level 5 where all the other mobile phones only use level 1 frequencies. Now I believe that there's something up here. It's either a bug
an update's needed, or perhaps maybe the software's not reporting it. But my accuracy didn't get any better than 16 meters. Now I did see it go to 8 at 6 at one point. Now on other phones with a Snapdragon 845, I'm able to get an accuracy of about 3 to 4 meters.
Now when we look at gaming performance, it's as expected. This is a flagship phone, and every single game that you test out on Android will have very, very smooth frame rates, and you can put it on the highest settings as well with all of the games out there, and you get super playable, smooth gaming experience on this. So great for gaming, and because the battery life is fairly decent, it's quite an efficient chip, 10 nanometers, the Snapdragon 845. It doesn't burn through the battery as fast as you would think it would, so it gives you still quite a lot of time to game. So you get, I would say, straight gaming, depends on your brightness setting of course, up to around 4 to 5 hours on this phone. Now let's focus on audio. So voice calls, I've found they tend to be average now because the earpiece is a little smaller due to the notch, the compromises they have made with that notch of course. It doesn't sound as good as my Samsung Galaxy S7 or my Mi Max 2 for some reason. Now it's obviously the limitation of the little tiny driver, the speaker they have in there, so it doesn't double as a loudspeaker. The loudspeaker down the bottom does sound decent, the volume output is good. I will give you a sample of it now. Now when it comes to the audio performance using 3.5mm, obviously there's no 3.5mm headphone jack. You must use a Type-C to 3.5 adapter, but the audio quality is really good. So whatever DAC they're using in this does sound really clean. There's no hiss, there's no static. Very good audio. It just lacks a bit of volume. I wish it was louder. Obviously Xiaomi doesn't want us to damage our ears, so they limit that volume there. You do get a warning saying that you increase the volume there, that you could damage your ears. Now for cameras, we've got an f2.0 20 megapixel camera on the front that takes a decent photo, as you can see here from these selfies. Now in the beginning it was overexposing a lot. That has been corrected to the most part with the latest update, the bug fix update that went through with 2 gigabytes. And it will take portrait photos well with the rear camera using a combination of both of those 12 megapixel sensors. So one of them is a 2x optical zoom one, which is a Samsung sensor, and then a Sony IMX363 is the main sensor. Now this has 12 megapixels, an f1.8 aperture, and it also has 4-axis optical image stabilization. So here's a sample from that rear camera.
So the audio is my biggest complaint here. It's not really wonderful. They could definitely improve on the quality. The focus is good because it's got that dual pixel phase detection autofocus. I mean, it locks onto things really quick. You see right here when I put my hand up, no problems with that. No focus hunting either, which was plaguing the Xiaomi's of last year. They had lots of problems with that. We only have optical image stabilization, so you can see you get a lot of that optical image stabilization rock, so the sensor moving around, the lens actually, and the sensor all moving around in there. So it would be nice to see electronic image stabilization, which it is lacking. It is also lacking 4K 60 frames per second, which the Snapdragon 845 can do. I mean, overall the quality is good. It is sharp, as you can see. It's just the stabilization. So a sample with the front facing camera, it's 20 megapixels f2.0 aperture, and in the shadow here the quality is fine, the exposure is okay, but watch what happens when I step into the direct sunlight. It does start to struggle a little bit, overexposes. I mean, I do have a white t-shirt on, so very hard conditions for the camera. Again, the audio you can hear, it's not the best, and also no stability, so it doesn't have any electronic image stabilization, which really, for a flagship, I believe should have.
Alright guys, so the Mi 8 is a fantastic phone for the price. It's a flagship phone, it's super fast, really nice screen. Yes, it does have the notch. Yes, it has compromises with the UI, with the call quality. The earpiece is slightly smaller. It doesn't sound quite as good as other mobile phones. That's just a minor there. But what did disappoint me when I first unboxed this phone and did the first video on it was the lack of the secondary loudspeaker on there. The fact that they dropped wireless charging. It doesn't make any sense to me. If this is meant to be their top-end model, their flagship model, and even the Mi 8 Explorer is not going to have wireless charging on it either, or a little bit of splash resistance, a proper IP rating, I feel they should have done with that. I feel Xiaomi could have done more with this phone. It's almost like they took the Mi Mix 2S, combined it, with a new notch display and created, of course, a new phone out of that. But they're really so similar because the internals are basically the same battery capacity. So the battery life is good, it charges really fast, it can take a really good photo. Video quality in 4K is sharp. However, optical image stabilization only. There's no electronic image stabilization, which I feel it should have. There's no 60 frames per second 4K, which I feel they could have added. The chipset supports it. The camera module does support it as well, so why is it not there? Hopefully they can push it out with more updates. So when I first got the phone too, the other thing that was disappointing for me was I was seeing all this UI stutter in full gesture mode now and then, and even notification stutter that should not be happening with this spec of phone with the fast internal storage, the plenty of RAM that it's got on there, and of course the Snapdragon 845. Luckily, of course, Xiaomi, it took them a month. They pushed out that big update, which is the 2GB one, and now it seems really smooth to me. All those little bugs and things that I encountered, they seem to have gone, but they didn't improve on the audio quality on video as well and voice calls. It seems to me to be pretty much exactly the same. I can't distinguish any difference between it. So hopefully they will correct that with MIUI 10. Otherwise, this is a very good phone for the price, for what you're getting, and a brilliant screen. Even though it's got the notch, this is a very nice AMOLED panel that they have gone with, and one of their best yet, I would say, that Xiaomi has put in one of their flagship phones. Thank you so much for watching this review. Right up here I do have a camera comparison against the Mi Mix 2S if you're interested in that, and my latest videos right up here. Bye for now.